射雕英雄传》是金庸的代表作之一，作于1957年到1959年。小说讲述了南宋年间。
The Legend of the Condor Heroes is one of Gene Yang's masterpieces, written from 1957 to 1959. The novel tells the story of the Southern Song Dynasty.
随丈夫杨铁心流落江南牛家村的包惜弱救了金国王子完颜洪烈，却害得丈夫和义兄郭啸天两家家破人亡。
Bao Shirua, who was living in Nyoja village in the south of the Yangtze River with her husband Yang Tixin, rescued Prince Wanyan Honglai of the Jin kingdom, but her husband and his adopted brother Guo Xiaotian's family were ruined.
郭啸天的妻子逃到蒙古大漠，生下一父子郭靖。傻小子郭靖得到丐帮帮主洪七公传授绝技降龙18掌。
Guo Xiaotian's wife fled to the Mongolian desert and gave birth to a posthumous son, Guo Jing. The silly boy Guo Jing was taught the unique skill 18 dragons subduing palms by Hong Qigong, the leader of the beggar clan.
更赢得心上人容儿方信，坚毅淳朴的傻小子终成一代大侠。包惜弱和杨铁心之子杨康认贼作父，成了金国的小王子。
He even wins the heart of his sweetheart Rangier. The resolute and honest silly boy eventually became a hero. Yang Kang, the son of Bao Shirua and Yang Tixin, recognized the thief as his father and became the little prince of the Jin kingdom.
最终害人害己，惨死在牛家村。本书阐释了侠义精神的真谛，侠之大者，为国为民。这是中国传统小说和戏剧的特征。
In the end, he harmed others and himself, and died tragically in Nyoja village. This book explains the true meaning of chivalrous spirit. A great chivalrous person serves the country and the people. This is a characteristic of traditional Chinese novels and dramas.
但不免缺乏人物内心世界的复杂性。《射雕英雄传》正文第一回：风雪惊变，射雕英雄传，钱塘江浩浩江水。
But it inevitably lacks the complexity of the character's inner world. The Legend of the Condor Heroes, Text, Chapter 1. Sudden changes in the wind and snow. The Legend of the Condor Heroes, the mighty waters of the Qiantang River.
日日夜夜无穷无休地从临安牛家村边绕过，东流入海。江畔一排数十株乌柏树，叶子似火烧般红，正是8月天时。
Day and night, it goes around Nyoja village in linen and flows eastward into the sea. There are dozens of cypress trees in a row along the river. Their leaves are as red as fire. It is August.
村前村后的野草刚起始变黄，一抹斜阳映照之下，更增了几分萧索。两株大松树下围着一堆村民，男男女女和10几个小孩。
The weeds in front of and behind the village have just begun to turn yellow, and under the setting sun, they are even more desolate. Under 2 big pine trees, there were a group of villagers, men, women, and a dozen children.
正自聚精会神地听着一个瘦削的老者说话，那说话人50来岁年纪，一件青布长袍早洗得褪成了蓝灰色。
He was listening intently to a thin old man talking. The speaker was in his 50s, and his green cloth robe had long been washed and faded to blue-gray.
只听他2片梨花木板碰了几下，左手中竹棒在一面小节鼓上敲起它的连声。 唱道：“小桃无主自开花，烟草茫茫带晚鸦。”
I heard 2 pieces of pear wood touching each other a few times, and the bamboo stick in his left hand beat repeatedly on a small drum. He sang, "The little peach blossoms without a owner, and the tobacco leaves are covered with late crows."
即出拜原为故景，向来一一是人家。那说话人将木板敲了几下，说道：“这首七言诗说的是冰火过后原来的家家户户。”
There are several ruined walls surrounding the old well, which have always been occupied by other people's homes. The speaker knocked on the wooden board a few times and said, "This 7-character poem talks about how every household turned out after the war."
都变成了断墙残瓦的破败之地。小人刚才说到，那叶老汉一家4口悲欢离合，聚了又散，散了又聚。他4人给金兵冲散。
They have all become dilapidated places with broken walls and rubble. The villain just mentioned that old man Ye's family of 4 were full of joys and sorrows, getting together and breaking up, and breaking up and getting together again. The 4 of them were scattered by the Jin soldiers.
好容易又在团聚，欢天喜地地回到故乡，却见房屋已给金兵烧得干干净净，无可奈何，只得去到汴梁想觅个生计。不料想
Finally reunited, they happily returned to their hometown, only to find that the house had been burned down by the Jin soldiers. They had no choice but to go to Bianliang to find a livelihood. Unexpectedly,
天有不测风云，人有旦夕祸福。他4人刚进汴梁城，迎面便过来一队金兵，带兵的头一双3角眼去将过去。
the sky has unpredictable events, and people have misfortunes and blessings. As soon as the 4 of them entered Bianliang city, a group of golden soldiers came towards them. The leader of the troops looked at him with triangular eyes.
见那叶三姐生的美貌，跳下马来，当即一把抱住，哈哈大笑，便将她放上了马鞍，说道：“小，跟我回家服侍老爷。”
Seeing that Sister Yi was so beautiful, she jumped off the horse, hugged her immediately, laughed loudly, put her on the saddle, and said, "Little one, come home with me and serve the master."
那叶三姐如何肯从？拼命挣扎。那金兵长官喝道：“你不肯从我，便杀了你的父母！”提起狼牙棒，一棒打在那叶三郎的头上。
Then how can Sister Yi be willing to obey? Struggling desperately, the Jinbing officer shouted, "If you don't want to obey me, I will kill your parents." He picked up the mace and hit Ne Sanlang on the head.
当时脑浆迸裂，一命冥乎。正是因是新天王死鬼，阳间不见少年人。叶老汉和妈妈吓得呆了，扑将上去，搂住了儿子的死尸。
Immediately his brain burst and he screamed for life. Exactly, a new ghost has been added to the underworld, and there are no young people in the upper world. Old man Yi and his mother were so frightened that they rushed up and hugged their son's dead body.
放声大哭。那长官提起狼牙棒，一棒一个，又兜了仗。那叶三姐却不啼哭，说道：“长官休得凶恶，我跟你回家便了。”那长官大喜。
Cry loudly. The officer picked up the mace, struck one at a time, and killed them all. But Sister Yi didn't cry and said, "Sir, don't be so cruel. I'll just go home with you." The officer was overjoyed.
将叶三姐带了回家，不料叶三姐去他布房，突然抢不过去，拔出那长官的腰刀，对准了他心口，一刀刺将过去。说时迟，那时快。
Take Sanjie Yi home. Unexpectedly, third sister Yi looked at him unprepared, and suddenly rushed over, pulled out the officer's waist knife, pointed it at his heart, and stabbed him with the knife. It was too late to say, but it was soon.
这一刀刺去，眼见便可报得父母兄弟的大仇。不料那长官久经战阵，武艺精熟，顺手一推，叶三姐登时摔了出去。
With this stab of a knife, you can avenge your parents and brothers just before your eyes. Unexpectedly, the officer had experienced many battles and was proficient in martial arts. With a smooth push, Sister Yi was thrown out immediately.
那长官刚骂的一声“小贱人”，叶三姐已举起钢刀在脖子中一勒。可怜她花容月貌无双女，惆怅芳魂负九泉。她说一段。
The officer just scolded, "You little bitch." Sister Yi San has raised the steel knife and strangled her neck. Pity her. A girl with unparalleled beauty and beauty, her melancholy soul goes to Zhou He said.
唱一段，只听得众村民无不咬牙切齿，愤怒叹息。那人又道：“众位看官，常言道得好，为人切莫用欺心，举头3尺有神明。”
After singing a section, all the villagers gnashed their teeth and sighed angrily. The man said again, "Fellow judges, as the saying goes, don't use deceit to deceive your heart. There is a God in the 3 feet of your head."
若还作恶无报应，天下凶徒人吃人。可是那金兵占了我大宋天下，杀人放火，奸淫掳掠，无恶不作，却又不见他遭到什么报应。
If you continue to do evil without retribution, the world will be full of murderers who cannibalize others. But the Jin soldiers took over the Song dynasty, killing people, setting fires, raping and plundering, committing all kinds of evil, but no retribution was seen for him.
只怪我大宋官家不争气，我本来兵多将广，可是一见到金兵到来，便远远地逃之夭夭，只剩下老百姓遭殃。
It is only my fault that the official family of the Song dynasty failed to live up to expectations. I originally had many soldiers, but as soon as I saw the Jin soldiers coming, I fled far away, leaving only the common people to suffer.
好似那叶三姐一家的惨祸，江北之地，时是成千成万，便如家常便饭一般。诸君住在江南，当真是在天堂里了。
It's like the tragedy that happened to Sister Ye's family. In the land north of the Yangtze River, there are literally thousands of them, as if they were commonplace. You all, living in the south of the Yangtze River, are really in paradise.
只怕金兵何日到来？正是宁做太平犬，莫为乱世人。小人张15今日路经贵地，服侍众位看官这一段说话。
I'm just afraid of when the golden soldiers will arrive. Exactly. I would rather be a peace dog than a person in troubled times. The villain Zhang Shiwu passed by your place today and served all the judges. This is what he said.
叫做叶三姐劫猎记，话本说撤，全作散场，将2片梨花木板拍的乱敲一阵， 拖出一只盘子。
It's called Yi Sanjia's Fierce Records. The story is told clearly, and the right to leave the scene. He banged 2 pieces of pear wood board for a while and held out a plate.
众村民便有人拿出2文3文放入木盘，霎时间得了60-70文。张十五谢了，将铜钱放入囊中，便欲起行。
Some of the villagers took out 2 or 3 coins and put them into the wooden tray. In an instant, they got 60 or 70 coins. Zhang Shishir thanked him, put the copper coins in his bag, and was about to set off.
村民中走出一个20来岁的大汉，说道：“张先生，你可是从北方来吗？”张十五见他身材魁梧，浓眉大眼，便道：“正是。”那大汉道：
A tall man in his 20s walked out of the villagers and said, "Mr. Zhang, are you from the north?" Zhang Shishir saw that he was tall and tall, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, and said, "Exactly." The big man said,
小弟做东，请先生去饮上3杯如何？张十五大喜，说道：“素不相识，怎敢叨扰？”那大汉笑道：“喝上3杯，那便相识了。我姓郭。”
"I'm the host. How about inviting you, sir, to have 3 drinks?" Zhang Shiwu was overjoyed and said, "We have never met each other. How dare we disturb you?" The big man smiled and said, "After 3 drinks, we'll get to know each other. My surname is Gua."
名叫郭啸天，指着身旁一个白净面皮的汉子道：“这位是杨铁心杨兄弟，适才我2人听先生说唱叶三姐姐劣迹。”
His name is Gua Xiaotian. Pointing to a fair-skinned man next to him, he said, "This is brother Yang Tixin. Just now the 2 of us were listening to my husband sing the story of Sister Yi Sanjia."
果然是说得好，却有几句话想要请问。张十五道：“好说，好说。今日得遇郭杨2位，也是有缘。”
As expected, it is well said, but I have a few words to ask. Zhang Shiwu said, "Easy to say, easy to say. It is fate to meet Gua and Yang today."
郭啸天带着张十五来到村头一家小酒店中，在张饭桌旁坐了。小酒店的主人是个脖子撑着2根拐杖，慢慢烫了2壶黄酒。
Gua Xiaotian took Zhang Shiwu to a small hotel in the village and sat down at Zhang's dining table. The owner of the tavern was a lame man. He used 2 crutches and slowly boiled 2 pots of rice wine.
摆出1碟蚕豆，1碟咸花生，1碟豆腐干，另有3个切开的咸蛋，自行在门口板凳上坐了，抬头瞧着天边正要落山的太阳。
Putting out a plate of broad beans, a plate of salted peanuts, a plate of dried tofu, and 3 cut salted eggs, he sat on the bench by the door and looked up at the sun that was about to set in the sky.
却不更向3人望上一眼。郭啸天斟了酒，劝张十五喝了2杯，说道：“乡下地方只初2、16方有肉卖，没了下酒之物，先生莫怪。”
But he didn't even look at the 3 of them. Gua Xiaotian poured the wine, persuaded Zhang Shishir to drink 2 glasses, and said, "In the countryside, meat is only sold on the 2nd and 16th day of the lunar month. Don't be surprised if there is no food to drink with."
张十五道：“有酒便好。”听2位口音，这莫也是北方人。 杨铁心道：“我两兄弟原是山东人士，只因受不了金狗的肮脏气。”
Zhang Shiwu said, "It's good if you have wine." Judging from their accents, Zhima is also from the north. Yang Tiexin said, "My two brothers were originally from Shandong. They just couldn't stand the dirty smell of the golden dog."
3年前来到此间，爱这里人情后，便住了下来。刚才听得先生说道，我们住在江南，犹似在天堂里一般，只怕金兵何日到来。
I came here 3 years ago and fell in love with the friendly people here, so I stayed here. I heard my husband say just now that we live in the south of the Yangtze River and it feels like we are in heaven. We are only afraid of the day when the Jin soldiers will arrive.
你说金兵会不会打过江来？张十五叹道：“江南花花世界，遍地皆是金银，放眼但见，金兵又有哪一日下想过来？”
Do you think the Jin soldiers will come across the river? Zhang Shishir sighed. The colorful world in the south of the Yangtze River is full of gold and silver. As far as you can see, how can Jin Bing ever think about it?
只是他来与不来，拿主意的却不是金国，而是临安的大宋朝廷。郭啸天和杨铁心岂敢诧异，同声问道：“这却是怎生说？”
However, it was not the Jin kingdom that made the decision as to whether he would come or not, but the Song dynasty court in Linen. Guo Xiaotian and Yang Tiexin were both surprised and asked at the same time, "How can this be said?"
张十五道：“我中国百姓比女真人多上100倍也还不止。只要朝廷肯用忠臣良将，咱们100个打他一个，金兵如何能够抵挡？”
Zhang Shiwu said, "We, the Chinese people, are more than 100 times more numerous than the Jurchens. As long as the imperial court is willing to use loyal ministers and good generals, if we beat him 1 out of 100, how can the Jin soldiers resist?"
我大宋北方这半壁江山，是当年徽宗、钦宗、高宗他父子3人奉送给金人的。这3个皇帝任用奸臣，欺压百姓。
This half of the country in the northern part of the Song dynasty was given to the Jin people by Huizong, Qinzong, Gaozong, and his son. These 3 emperors appointed treacherous ministers to oppress the people.
把出力抵抗金兵的大将罢免的罢免，杀头的杀头。花花江山，双手送将过去，金人却知不公，也只得收了。
The generals who contributed to resisting the Jin soldiers were deposed and decapitated. Flowers are everywhere, sending them with both hands, but the golden man is disrespectful and has no choice but to accept them.
今后朝廷倘若仍是任用奸臣，那就是跪在地下，请金兵驾到，他又如何不来？郭啸天伸手在桌上重重一拍，只拍的倍儿快。
If the imperial court still appoints treacherous ministers in the future, it will kneel on the ground and invite the Jin soldiers to come. Why won't he come? Guo Xiaotian reached out and slapped the table hard. Only the cup, chopsticks, and
蝶都跳将起来，说道：“正是。”张十五道：“想当年徽宗道君皇帝一心只想长生不老，要做神仙，所用的奸臣像蔡京、王府。”
Everyone jumped up and said, "Exactly." Zhang Shiwu said, "I think back then Emperor Huizong Daojun only wanted to live forever and be a god. and he used treacherous ministers like Kai Jing and Wang Fu.
是专帮皇帝搜括的无耻之徒，像童贯、梁师成是只会吹牛拍马的太监，像高俅、李邦彦是陪皇帝嫖院玩耍的浪子。
They are shameless people who specialize in helping the emperor search for property, like Tong Guan and Liang Shicheng. They are eunuchs who only know how to brag and flatter horses, like Gao Qiu and Li Bangyan. They are prodigal sons who accompany the emperor's prostitutes.
道君皇帝正是诸般不理，整日里若不是求仙学道，便是派人到处去找寻稀奇古怪的花木石头。一旦金兵打到眼前来，
The Emperor Dao Jun paid no attention to his business. If he was not seeking immortality and learning Taoism, he would send people everywhere to look for strange flowers, trees, and stones. Once the golden soldiers come to you,
他束手无策，头一缩，便将皇位传给了儿子钦宗。那时忠臣李纲守住了京城汴梁，各路大将率兵擒王，金兵攻打不进。
he was helpless, and with a wince of his head, he passed the throne to his son Qinzong. At that time, the loyal minister Li Gang was guarding Bianliang, the capital, and all the generals led their troops to serve the king, but the Jin soldiers were unable to attack.
只得退兵，不料想钦宗听信了奸臣的话，竟将李纲罢免了，又不用威名宿助能征惯战的宿将。
He had no choice but to retreat. Unexpectedly, Qinzong listened to the words of the treacherous minister and actually dismissed Li Gang. He did not use a veteran general who was famous and experienced in fighting.
却信用一个自称能请天神天将、会得呼风唤雨的骗子郭京，叫他请天将守城。天将不肯来，这京城又如何不破？终于徽宗。
But he trusted Guo Jing, a liar who claimed to be able to summon gods and generals, and could control wind and rain, and asked him to hire generals to guard the city. If the heavenly general refuses to come, how can this capital not be destroyed? Finally, Huizong.
钦宗都给金兵掳了去，这两个昏君自作自受，那也罢了，可害苦了我中国千千万万百姓。郭孝天、杨铁心越听越怒。郭孝天道。
Qinzong was all captured by the Jin soldiers. These two foolish kings brought it upon themselves, so that's fine, but they have caused suffering to millions of Chinese people. Guo Xiaotian and Yang Tixin became angrier as they listened. Guo Xiaotian said,
靖康年间徽钦二帝被金兵掳去这件大事，我们听得多了。 天神天将什么的，倒也听见过的，只道是说说，岂难道真有此事？
During the Jingkang period, we have heard a lot about the great shame that the second emperor Hui Qin was kidnapped by the Jin soldiers. I have heard of gods and generals, but they are just talking about it. Is this really happening?
张十五道：“那还有假的？” 杨铁心道：“后来康王在南京接位做皇帝，手下有韩世忠、岳爷爷这些天将，本来大可发兵北伐。”
Zhang Shiwu asked, "Is there any falsehood?" Yang Tixin said, "Later, King Kong took over as emperor in Nanjing. He had generals like Han Shizhong and Grandpa Yu under his command, so he could have sent troops to the northern expedition."
就算不能直捣黄龙，要收复京城汴梁，却也并非难事。 只恨秦桧这奸贼一心想议和，却把岳爷爷害死了。张十五替过。
Even if they can't attack Huanglong directly, it is not difficult to regain the capital city of Bianliang. I just hate that the traitor Qin Hui wanted to negotiate peace, but he killed Grandpa Yu. Zhang Shiwu replaced Gua.
杨二人斟了酒，自己又斟一杯，一口饮干，说道：“岳爷爷有2句诗道：壮志饥餐胡虏肉，笑谈可饮匈奴血。”
The two of Yang poured wine, and he poured another cup, drank it all in one gulp, and said, Grandpa Yu has 2 lines of poetry. Aspirations are hungry and eat the meat of Huns, and they are laughing and talking about thirsty and drinking the blood of Huns.
这2句诗当真说出了中国全国百姓的心里话。唉，秦桧这大奸臣运气好，只可惜咱们迟生了60年。郭啸天问道。
These 2 lines of poems really speak to the inner thoughts of the Chinese people. Alas, Qin Hui, the traitorous minister, was lucky, but it is a pity that we were born 60 years late. Guo Xiaotian asked.
若是早了60年，却又如何？张十五道：那时凭2位这般英雄气概，豪杰身手，去到临安，将这奸臣一把揪住。
What if it was 60 years too early? Zhang Shiwu said, at that time, with their heroic spirit and heroic skills, they went to Linan and caught the traitor.
咱3个就吃他的肉，喝他的血，却又不用在这里吃蚕豆，喝冷酒了。说着，3人大笑。杨铁心见1壶酒已喝完了，又要了1壶。
The 3 of us will eat his flesh and drink his blood, but we don't have to eat broad beans or drink cold wine here. As they spoke, the 3 of them laughed. Seeing that 1 pot of wine had been finished, Yang Tixin asked for another one.
3人只是痛骂秦桧，那伯子又端上1碟蚕豆，1碟花生，听他3人骂得痛快，忽然嘿嘿2声冷笑。杨铁心道：“曲三，怎么了？”
The 3 of them just scolded Qin Hui. The lame man brought another plate of broad beans and a plate of peanuts. Hearing the 3 of them scolding each other happily, he suddenly sneered twice. Yang Tixin said, Chu San, what's wrong?
你说我们骂秦桧骂得不对吗？那脖子曲三道：骂得好，骂得对，有什么不对？不过我曾听的人说，想要杀岳爷爷议和的。
Do you think it's wrong for us to scold Qin Hui? The crippled Chu San said, That's a good scolding, that's right. What's wrong with that? But I once heard someone say that they wanted to kill grandpa-in-law to negotiate peace.
罪魁祸首却不是秦桧，3人都感诧异，问道：“不是秦桧，那么是谁？”屈三道：“秦桧做的是宰相，议和也好，不议和也好。”
The culprit was not Qin Hui. The 3 of them were surprised and asked, Isn't it Qin Hui? So who? Chu San said, Qin Hui is the prime minister, whether he negotiates peace or not.
他都做他的宰相，可是岳爷爷一心一意要灭了金国，迎接徽钦2帝回来。这2个皇帝一回来，高宗皇帝他又做什么呀？
He was his prime minister. But Grandpa Yu was determined to destroy the Jin kingdom and welcome Emperor Huiqin back. As soon as these 2 emperors came back, what would Emperor Gaozong do?
他说了这几句话， 一敲一拐的又去坐在木凳上，抬头望天，又是一动不动的出神。这曲三瞧他容貌也不过20来岁年纪。
After he said these few words, he sat on the wooden bench again, looking up at the sky, motionless and lost in thought. From the looks of Chu San, he is only in his 20s.
可是弓腰曲背，鬓边渐白，从背后瞧去，倒似是个老头子模样。张十五和郭阳二人相顾哑然。隔了半晌，张十五道：“对。”
However, his back is hunched over and his temples are white. Looking from behind, he looks like an old man. Zhang Shiwu and Guiyang looked at each other in silence. After a long while, Zhang Shiwu said, "Yes, yes."
这一位兄弟说得很是，真正害死岳爷爷的罪魁祸首，只怕不是秦桧，而是高宗皇帝。这个高宗皇帝原本无耻得很。
This brother is right. The real culprit who killed Grandpa Yu was probably not Qin Hui but Emperor Gaozong. This Emperor Gaozong was originally very shameless.
这种事情自然做得出来。郭啸天问道：“他却又怎么无耻了？”张十五道：“当年岳爷爷几个胜仗，只杀得金兵血流成河，尸积如山。”
This kind of thing can be done naturally. Guo Xiaotian asked, "Why is he so shameless?" Zhang Shiwu said, "Grandpa Yu won several battles back then, but he only killed the Jin soldiers with blood flowing into rivers and corpses piled up like mountains."
只有逃命之力，更无招架之功，而北方我中国一民又到处起兵抄鞑子的后路，今人正在手忙脚乱、魂不附体的当。
They only have the strength to escape, not to mention the ability to resist. In the north, we, the Chinese righteous people, are raising troops everywhere to seize the Tatars' retreat. The Golden Man was in a hurry and lost his mind.
忽然高宗送到将表，说要求和。金人的皇帝自然大喜若狂，说道：“议和倒也可以，不过先得杀了岳飞。”于是秦桧定下奸计。
Suddenly Gaozong sent a surrender letter and asked for peace. The emperor of the Jin people was naturally overjoyed and said, "It is okay to negotiate peace, but Yu Fei must be killed first." So Qin Hui made a treacherous plan.
在风波亭中害死了岳爷爷。绍兴11年12月，岳爷爷被害，只隔得1个月，到绍兴12年正月，议和就了。
Grandpa Yu was killed in the Storm Pavilion. In December of the 12th year of Shaoxing, Grandpa Yu was killed, only 1 month apart. By the first month of the 12th year of Shaoxing, peace was negotiated.
宋金两国以淮水中流为界。高宗皇帝向金国称臣，你道他这道降表是怎生书写？杨铁心道：“那定是写得很不要脸了。”
The two countries of Song and Jin were bounded by the flow of the Huai River. Emperor Gaozong professed his surrender to the kingdom of Jin. How did he write this surrender? Yang Tiexin said, "That must be very shameless."
张十五道：“可不是吗？这道降表，我倒也记得。高宗皇帝名叫赵构，他在降表中写道：‘臣构言，既蒙恩造，许被藩国，世世子孙。’
Zhang Shiwu said, "Isn't it? I also remember this surrender. Emperor Gaozong's name was Zhao Go. He wrote in the surrender, "I have said, since I have been favored, I will prepare the vassal state for generations to come." Descendants.
谨守臣节，每年皇帝生辰并正旦，遣使称贺不绝，岁贡银25万两，绢25万匹。他不但自己做奴才。
Keep your integrity. Every year the emperor's birthday coincides with the first day of the lunar calendar, and envoys are sent to congratulate him incessantly. The annual tribute is 250,000 taels of silver and 250,000 bolts of silk. Not only did he become his own slave,
还叫世世子孙都做金国皇帝的奴才。他做奴才不打紧，咱们中国百姓可不是跟着也成了奴才。砰的一声。
He also ordered all descendants to be slaves of the Emperor of Jin. It doesn't matter if he is a slave, will we Chinese people also become slaves? There was a bang.
郭啸天又在桌上重重拍了一记，震倒了一只酒杯，酒水流得满桌，怒道：“不要脸，不要脸！这鸟皇帝算是哪一门子的皇帝？”
Guo Xiaotian slapped the table hard again, knocking over a wine glass, and the wine flowed all over the table. He said angrily, "Shameless, shameless! What kind of emperor is this bird emperor?"
张十五道：“那时候全国军民听到了这个讯息，无不愤慨之极。淮水以北的百姓眼见河山恢复无望，更是伤心泣血。”
Zhang Shiwu said, "At that time, when the soldiers and civilians across the country heard the news, they were all extremely angry. The people north of the Huai River were even more sad and weeping when they saw that there was no hope for the rivers and mountains to recover."
高宗见自己的宝座从此坐得稳若泰山，便道是秦桧的大功。秦桧本来已封到鲁国公，这时在加封太师，荣宠无比，权势熏天。
When Emperor Gaozong saw that his throne was now as secure as Mount Tai, he said that it was Qin Hui's great contribution. Qin Hui had already been granted the title of Duke of Lu, and now he was granted the title of Grand Master. He was extremely favored and powerful.
高宗传孝宗，孝宗传光宗，今人占定了我大半边江山。光宗传到当今天子庆元皇帝手里，他在临安已做了5年龙庭。
Gaozong passed on to Xiaozong, Xiaozong passed on to Guangzong, and the Jin people controlled most of my country. Guangzong passed to the current Emperor Qingyuan, who has been sitting in Longting in Linan for 5 years.
用的是这位韩纣韩宰相，今后的日子怎样？嘿嘿，难说，难说。说着连连摇头。郭啸天道：“什么难说？这里是乡下地方，尽说无妨。”
This is the Prime Minister of Hangzhou and Han. What will the future be like? Hee, it's hard to say, hard to say. As he spoke, he shook his head repeatedly. Guo Xiaotian said, "What's so hard to say? This is a country place, so that's okay."
又不比临安城里，怕给人听了去惹祸。韩纣这贼宰相，哪一个不说他是大大的奸臣？说到祸国殃民的本事。
It's not like in Linan City, where I'm afraid of getting into trouble if people hear about it. Hangzhou, a thief prime minister, who wouldn't call him a traitorous minister? Talking about the ability to bring disaster to the country and the people.
跟秦桧是拜把子的兄弟。张十五说到了眼前之事，却有些胆小了，不敢再那么直言无忌，喝了一杯酒，说道
He and Qin Hui are brothers who worship each other. Zhang Shiwu talked about the matter in front of him, but he became a little timid and did not dare to speak so openly. He drank a glass of wine and said,
叨扰了两位一顿酒，小人却有一句话相劝，两位是血性汉子，说话行事却还得小心，免惹祸端。时事既是这样。
After harassing the two of them for a drink, the villain had a word of advice. They are bloody men. They should be careful in their words and deeds to avoid getting into trouble. The current situation is like this.
咱们老百姓也只有混口苦饭吃，挨日子罢了。哎，正是山外青山楼外楼，西湖歌舞几时休？暖风熏的游人醉，只把杭州作汴州。
We, the common people, can only live in poverty and survive, alas. Exactly. When will the singing and dancing of the West Lake and the Qingshan Tower outside the mountain close? The warm breeze makes tourists drunk, and they think Hangzhou is Bianzhou.
杨铁心问道：“这四句诗说的又是什么故事？”张十五道：“那倒不是故事，说的是我大宋君臣只顾在西湖边上饮酒作乐。”
Yang Tixin asked, "What story are these 4 lines of poetry telling?" Zhang Shiwu said, "That's not a story. It's about the monarchs and ministers of the Song dynasty who only drank and had fun by the West Lake."
观赏歌舞，打算世世代代就把杭州当作京师，再也不想收复失地，回汴梁就京去了。张十五喝得醺醺大醉，这才告辞。
Watching the singing and dancing, I plan to regard Hangzhou as the capital from generation to generation, and never want to regain the lost territory and return to the old capital of Bianliang. Zhang Shiwu was very drunk and then left.
脚步踉跄，向东往临安而去。只听他口中独自喃喃地念着岳飞那首《满江红》中的句子：“靖康耻，犹未雪；臣子恨，何时灭？”
Stumbling on his feet, he headed east toward Linan, only to hear him murmuring alone a line from Yu Fei's Man Jiang Hong. The shame of Jingkong has not yet snowed. The hatred of the ministers. When will it be extinguished?
驾长车，郭啸天付了酒钱，和杨铁心并肩回家。他两人比邻而居，行得10余丈，便到了家门口。
Driving a long car, Guo Xiaotian paid for the drink and went home side by side with Yang Tixin. The two of them lived next to each other and walked for more than 10 feet before they arrived at the door of their house.
郭啸天的浑家李氏正在赶鸡入笼，笑道：“哥俩又喝饱了酒了。杨叔叔，你跟嫂子一起来我家吃饭吧，咱们宰一只鸡。”
Guo Xiaotian's wife, Mrs. Li, was driving chickens into the cage and said with a smile, "Both brothers are full of wine again. Uncle Yang, you and your sister-in-law come to my house for dinner, and we slaughter a chicken."
杨铁心笑道：“好，今晚又扰嫂子了。我家里那个养了这许多鸡鸭，只是白费粮食，不舍得杀他1只2只，老是来吃你的。”李氏道。
Yang Tixin smiled and said, "Okay, I'm disturbing my sister-in-law again tonight. The one in my house raises so many chickens and ducks, but they are just wasting food. I don't want to kill him 1 or 2. He always comes to eat yours. Li said.
你嫂子就是心好，说这些鸡鸭从小养大的，说什么也狠不下心来杀了。杨铁心笑道，我说让我来杀，他就要哭哭啼啼的。
Your sister-in-law is just kind-hearted, saying that she has raised these chickens and ducks since they were young, and there is nothing she can do to kill them. Yang Tiexin smiled and said, If I say let me kill her, she will cry.
也真好笑，今儿晚我去打些野味，明还请大哥大嫂。郭笑天道，自己兄弟说什么还请不还请？今儿晚咱哥一起去打。
It's really funny too. I'm going to hunt some game tonight, and I'll invite my elder brother and sister-in-law tomorrow. Guo Xiaotian said, My brother, what do you say whether you want to invite me back or not? Let's go fight together tonight.
当晚3更时分，郭杨2人躲在村西7里的树林子中，手里拿着弓箭猎叉，只盼有只野猪或是黄精夜里出来觅食。
At 3 o'clock that night, Guo and Yang hid in the woods 7 miles west of the village, holding bows and arrows and hunting forks in their hands, hoping that a wild boar or a yellow leopard would come out to look for food at night.
2人已等了1个多时辰，始终没听到有何声息，正有些不耐烦了，忽听得林外传来一阵夺夺夺之声，2人心中一凛。
The 2 of them had been waiting for more than an hour, but still heard no sound. Just as they were getting a little impatient, they suddenly heard a burst of buzzing sounds coming from outside the forest, and the 2 of them felt a chill in their hearts.
君觉奇怪，这是什么？就在此时，忽听得远处有几人大声吆喝，往哪里走？快给我站住！接着黑影晃动，一人闪进林中。
Everyone was wondering, what is this? At this moment, several people in the distance were suddenly heard shouting, Where are we going? Stop! Then the black shadow shook, and a person stepped out of the way. Go into the forest.
月光照在他身上，郭杨2人看得分明，不由得大奇。原来那人撑着2根拐杖，却是村头开小酒店的那个脖子屈三。
The moonlight shone on him, and Guo and Yang could see clearly, and couldn't help but be surprised. It turned out that the man holding 2 crutches was the cripple Chu San who owned a small hotel at the end of the village.
只见他左拐在地下一撑，发出夺的一声，便即飞身而起，躲在树后。这一下实是高明之极的轻身功夫。
He turned left and leaned on the ground, making a sound like a bell, then flew up and hid behind a tree. This was an extremely skillful act of lightening one's body.
郭杨2人不约而同地伸出一手，互握了一下，心中均是惊诧万分。我们在牛家村住了3年。
Guo and Yang reached out their hands in unison and shook each other's hands. They were both shocked and said, We have lived in Miujia village for 3 years.
全不知这伯子取3武功竟然如此了得，当下躲在长草之中，不敢稍动。只听得脚步声响，3个人追到林边，低声商议了几句。
I had no idea that this cripple Chu San was so good at martial arts. Now they hid in the long grass, not daring to move. Only the sound of footsteps was heard, and the 3 of them chased to the edge of the forest and discussed a few words in a low voice.
便一步步地踏入林来。只见三人都是五官装束，手中青光闪烁，各握着一柄单刀。一人大声喝道：“兀那脖子，老子见到你了！”
Then he stepped into the forest step by step. I saw that the three of them were all dressed as military attaches, with green light flashing in their hands, each holding a single sword. One person shouted loudly, "That cripple, I see you."
还不跪下投降？屈三却只是躲在树后不动。三名武官挥动单刀，呼呼须披，渐渐走近。突然尖波的一声，屈三右拐，从树后戳出。
"Why don't you kneel down and surrender?" Chu San just hid behind the tree and didn't move. The three military attaches waved their single swords and whirred, and they gradually came closer. Suddenly, with a sound of ripples, Chu San turned right and poked out from behind the tree.
正中一名武官胸口是道甚是劲击，那武官一下闷哼，便向后飞了出去，摔在地下。另外两名武官挥动单刀向屈三砍去。
It hit a military attaché in the chest, and the force was very strong. The military attaché groaned, flew backwards, and fell to the ground. The other two military attaches swung their swords and slashed at Chu San.
屈三右拐在地下一撑，向左跃开数尺，避开了两柄单刀，左拐向一名武官面门点去。那武官武功也自不弱，挺刀挡架。
Chu San turned right and leaned on the ground, jumped a few feet to the left, avoided two single swords, turned left and pointed towards a military attaché. The military attaché is not weak in martial arts, and he can stand upright with his sword.
屈三不让他单刀碰到拐杖，左拐收回着地，右拐扫向另一名武官腰间。只见他双拐此起彼落，快速无伦。
Chu San prevented him from touching the crutch with his single sword. He retracted his left crutch and landed on the ground, then swept his right crutch towards the waist of another military attaché. I saw his crutches rising and falling rapidly.
虽然一拐须得撑地支持身子，至于一拐空出来对敌，却是丝毫不落下风。郭阳二人见他背上负着一个包裹，甚是累赘。
Although Yiguai had to support himself on the ground, leaving only Yiguai free to fight the enemy, he was not at a disadvantage. Guai and Yang saw that he was carrying a package on his back, which was very burdensome.
斗了一会，一名武官钢刀砍去，削在他包裹之上，当啷一声，包裹破裂，散出无数物事。屈三胜他欢喜大叫之际，右拐回处。
After fighting for a while, a military attaché's steel knife slashed at his package. With a clang, the package burst and countless objects were scattered. Chu San took advantage of him to shout with joy and waved out with his right hand.
拍的一声，一名武官顶门中拐，扑的倒了。余下那人大骇，转身便逃。他脚步甚快，顷刻间奔出数丈。屈三右手往怀中一掏。
With a bang, a military attaché hit the door and fell to the ground. The remaining man was so frightened that he turned around and ran away. His steps were very fast and he ran several feet in an instant. Chu San reached into his arms with his right hand.
跟着扬手，月光下只见一块圆盘似的黑雾飞将出去，拖的一下轻响，嵌入了那武官后脑。 那武官惨声长叫，单刀脱手飞出。
As he raised his hand, a black disc-like object flew out under the moonlight, made a soft sound, and embedded itself in the back of the military attaché's head. The military attaché screamed in agony and flew out with his single sword.
双手乱舞，仰天缓缓倒下，扭转了几下，就此不动，眼见是不能活了。郭杨二人见伯子取三于顷刻之间连毙三人，武功之高。
His hands fluttered wildly, and he slowly fell to the sky. He twisted a few times and stayed still. He saw that he could no longer live. Gua and Yang saw the crippled Chu San kill 3 people in an instant, showing his high martial arts skills.
生平从来未见，心中都是砰砰乱跳，大气也不敢喘上一口。君下，这人击杀命官，犯下了滔天大罪。我们若是给他发觉。
I had never seen this before in my life. My heart was pounding wildly, and I didn't dare to take a breath. They all thought, this man killed the official and committed a heinous crime. If we let him find out.
只怕他要杀人灭口，我兄弟俩可万万不是敌手。却见屈三转过身来，缓缓说道：“郭兄、杨兄，请出来吧。”郭杨二人大吃一惊。
I am afraid that he will kill someone and silence him, but my 2 brothers are absolutely no match for him. But Chu San turned around and said slowly, Brother Gua, Brother Yang, please come out. Gua and Yang were shocked.
只得从草丛中长身而起，手中紧紧握住了猎叉。杨铁心向郭啸天手中猎叉瞧了一眼，随即踏上2步。屈三微笑道：“杨兄。”
He had no choice but to stand up from the grass and hold the hunting fork tightly in his hand. Yang Tiexin glanced at the hunting fork in Guo Xiaotian's hand, and then took 2 steps. Chu San smiled and said, Brother Yang.
你使杨家枪法，这猎叉还将就用得。你义兄使的是一对短戟，兵刃可太不就手了。因此你挡在他身前，好，有义气。
If you use the Yang family's marksmanship, you will be able to use this hunting fork. Your sworn brother is wielding a pair of short halberds, but the weapons are not very handy, so you stand in front of him. Well done, be loyal.
杨铁心给他说穿了心事，不由得有些手足无措。曲三又道：“郭兄，就算你有双戟在手，你们2位合力斗得过我吗？”
Yang Tiexin told him what was on his mind, and he couldn't help but feel a little at a loss. Chu San said again, Brother Gua, even if you have 2 halberds in your hands, can you 2 fight me together?
郭啸天摇头道：“斗不过。我兄弟俩当真有眼无珠，跟你老兄在牛家村同住了这么些年。”
Guo Xiaotian shook his head and said, You can't fight. My brothers are really blind and have lived with your brother in Niujia village for so many years.
全没瞧出你老兄是一位身怀绝技的高手。屈三摇摇头，叹了口气，说道：“我双腿已废，还说得上什么绝技不绝技？”
I didn't realize that your brother is a master with special skills. Chu San shook his head, sighed, and said, My legs are useless. What kind of stunts can I say?
似乎十分的意兴阑珊，又道：“若在当年要料理这3个宫中的带刀侍卫，又怎用得着如此费事？” 哎，不中用了，不中用了。
He seemed to be very uninterested and said, "If we had to take care of the sword-carrying guards in these 3 palaces back then, how could we go to such trouble? Alas, it's useless, it's useless."
郭杨二人对望一眼，不敢接口。屈三道：“请2位帮我脖子一个忙，将这3具尸首埋了，行不行？”郭杨二人又对望一眼，杨铁心道。
Guo and Yang looked at each other, not daring to speak. Chu San said, "Can you please do my lame man a favor and bury these 3 corpses?" Guo and Yang looked at each other again, and Yang Tixin said,
行。二人用猎插在地下掘了个大坑，将3具尸体搬入。搬到最后一具时
"Okay." The 2 used hunting forks to dig a big hole in the ground and moved the 3 corpses in. When they moved the last one,
杨铁心见那个黑色的盘形之物兀自嵌在那5官后脑，深入数寸，于是右手运劲拔了出来，左手重甸甸的。
Yang Tixin saw that the black disc-shaped object was embedded in the back of the military attache's head, several inches deep, so he used his right hand to pull it out, holding it heavily.
原来是个铁铸的八卦，在尸身上是去了血渍，拿过去交给屈三。屈三道：“劳驾。”将铁八卦收入囊中，解下外袍摊在地下。
It turned out to be an iron-cast bagua. He wiped off the blood stains on the body and took it to Chu San. Chu San said, "Excuse me." He put the iron bagua into his bag, took off his outer robe and spread it on the ground.
捡起散落的各物，一一放入袍中包起。郭杨二人搬土掩埋尸首，斜眼看去，见有3个长长的卷轴。
He picked up the scattered items and put them into his robe to wrap them up one by one. Guo and Yang moved earth to bury the body. When they looked sideways, they saw 3 long scrolls.
另有不少亮晶晶的金器玉器。屈三留下一把金壶、一只金杯，布包入袍中，分别交给郭杨二人，道：“这些物是。”
There are also many shiny gold and jade articles. Chu San left a gold pot and a gold cup without wrapping them in his robe, and gave them to Guo and Yang respectively, saying, "These things."
是我去临安皇宫中盗来的。皇帝害苦了百姓，拿他一些从百姓身上搜刮来的金银，算不得是贼赃。这2件金器
I went to Linen Palace to steal it. The emperor had harmed the people, and some of the gold and silver he had plundered from the people could not be regarded as stolen goods. These 2 pieces of gold.
转送给了2位。郭杨二人听说他竟敢到皇宫中去劫到大内财物，不由得惊呆了，都不敢伸手去接。屈三厉声道
Forwarded to 2 people. When Guo and Yang heard that he dared to go to the palace to steal the property, they were shocked and did not dare to reach out to take it. Chu San said sharply,
2位是不敢要呢，还是不肯要？郭啸天道：我们无功不受禄，不能受你的东西。至于今晚之事
Don't you 2 dare to ask for it? Still don't want it? Guo Xiaotian said, We don't get reward for our merits, and we can't accept your things. As for tonight,
我兄弟俩自然绝不泄露一字半句，老兄尽管放心。 屈三道：哼，我怕你们泄露了秘密。你二人的底细。
Naturally, my brothers will never reveal a single word, so don't worry, brother. Chu San said, Huh, I'm afraid you guys will reveal the secret. The details of you two.
我若非早就查得清清楚楚，今晚岂能容你二位活着离开？郭兄，你是梁山坡好汉帝右星赛人贵郭胜的后代。
If I hadn't found out clearly earlier, how could I have allowed you two to leave alive tonight? Brother Gua, you are the descendant of Sai Rengui Guosheng, the hero of Liang Shanbo.
使的是家传技法，只不过变长为短，化单为双。杨兄，你祖上杨再兴是岳爷爷麾下的名将，你二位是忠义之后，北方沦陷。
What he used was the halberd technique passed down from his family, but it was changed from long to short, single to double. Brother Yang, your ancestor Yang Zixing was a famous general under Grandpa Yu. After you two are loyal, the North fell.
你二人流落江湖，其后八拜为交，一结金兰，一起搬到牛家村来居住，是也不是？
The two of you wandered around the world, but became friends for 8 worshippers, became sworn friends to Jinlan, and moved to Nyoja village together. Yes or no?
郭杨二人听他将自己身世来历说得一清二楚，更是惊讶无比，只得点头称是。屈三道：你二位的祖宗郭胜和杨再兴。
Gua and Yang were extremely surprised when they heard him explain his life story clearly, and they could only nod in agreement. Chu San said, Your two ancestors are Guosheng and Yang Zixing.
本来都是绿林好汉，后来才归顺朝廷，为大宋出力，劫到不义之财，你们的祖宗都干过了的。这2件金器到底收是不收？
They were all heroes in the forest at first, but later they surrendered to the imperial court and contributed to the Song dynasty. Your ancestors have all done this to steal ill-gotten gains. Should I accept these 2 pieces of gold or not?
杨铁心寻思，若是不收，定然得罪了他，只得双手接过，说道：如此多谢了。屈三既然色喜，提起包裹附在背上，说道：回家去吧。
Yang Tixin thought, if you don't accept it, you will definitely offend him. He had to take it with both hands and said, Thank you so much. Chu Sanji looked overjoyed, picked up the package and tied it on his back, saying, Go home.
当下3人并肩出林。屈三道：今晚大有所获，得到了道君皇帝所画的2幅画，又有他写的1张字。这家伙做皇帝不成？
Now the 3 of them came out of the forest side by side. Chu San said, I gained a lot tonight. I got 2 paintings painted by Emperor Dao Jun and a letter written by him. This guy can't be the emperor.
翎毛丹青、瘦金体的书法，却委实是妙绝天下。郭杨二人也不懂什么叫做翎毛丹青与瘦金体的书法，只唯唯而应。走了一会，
Fei Mao's paintings and thin gold-style calligraphy are truly out of this world. Gua and Yang didn't understand what feather painting and thin gold calligraphy meant, so they just responded. They walked for a while.
杨铁心道：日间听那说话的先生言道，我大宋半壁江山都送在这道君皇帝手里，他画的画，写的字， 又是什么好东西了。
Yang Tiexian said, "The gentleman who spoke during the day said that half of our country in the Song dynasty was in the hands of this Dao Jun emperor. What good things are the paintings and calligraphy he painted?"
老兄何必甘冒大险，巴巴的到皇宫去道了出来。屈三微笑道：“这个你就不懂了。”郭啸天道：“这道君皇帝既然画得一笔好画。”
Brother, why would you take such a big risk and go to the palace to steal it? Chu San smiled and said, "You don't understand this." Guo Xiaotian said, "Since this Emperor Dao Jun can draw a good painting."
写得一手好字，定是聪明得很的，只可惜他不专心做皇帝。我小时候听爹爹说，一个人不论学武，只能专心做一件事。
He must be very smart if he can write well. It's a pity that he doesn't concentrate on being an emperor. When I was young, I heard my father say that no matter how hard you learn martial arts, you can only concentrate on one thing.
倘若东也要抓，西也要摸，到头来定然一事无成。屈三道：“资质寻常之人，当然是这样。可是天下尽有聪明绝顶之人，文才武学。”
If we try to grasp the East and touch the West, we will definitely achieve nothing in the end. Chu San said, "Of course people with ordinary qualifications are like this, but there are people in the world who are extremely intelligent, talented in literature and martial arts."
书画琴棋，算术韬略，以致医卜星象，奇门五行，无一不会，无一不精。只不过你们见不着罢了。说着抬起头来。
Calligraphy, painting, music, chess, arithmetic, strategy, medicine, horoscopes, all the 5 elements, all are masters and masters. It's just that you can't see it. As he spoke, he raised his head.